Hello and welcome to Nice and Blunt. It's week 12 and we got 3 games this Thursday for Thanksgiving. So I figured I'd get an early start on my win-loss predictions. I'm going to go over all of the week 12 matchups and make my picks. And as I go through it, I'm also going to bring you my priority waiver claims for this week, players who I think can help you win your league and who are also interesting trade targets. Without further ado, let's go. Alright, so I'll be editing this video during Monday Night Football, but I did pick Tampa Bay to win, so hopefully that works out well for me. But otherwise, through every other game this week, I am 11-3 in my win-loss predictions. It was a good week for me. The only ones I got wrong were Indianapolis over the Bills, Tennessee over the Titans, and Minnesota over the Packers. But otherwise, I got all of them right. So if I'm correct tonight, that'll be 12-3 on the week. And so far, my record on the season is 163-1. So a win percentage of 61% in terms of being correct on these win-loss predictions. And hopefully I can keep that up this week. So let's take a look at the Week 12 schedule. Let me pull that up here, and here it is. All right, so Chicago at Detroit is the first game of the week, and I think Darnell Mooney is going to have the spotlight on him. He had 16 targets last week with no Allen Robinson, and even if Justin Fields is not the quarterback, if Andy Dalton suits up, I think he will be just fine and get double-digit targets once again. He's been the number one wide receiver in Chicago all season long, and in this game, he's really going to be showcased. I love Darnell Mooney. He's definitely a top 25 option at wide receiver in week 12. Otherwise, Marquise Goodwin may have some upside as long as Allen Robinson doesn't suit up, but just a dart throw flex option with some upside. I think David Montgomery is going to have a great game and a great matchup against the Lions, and even if Andy Dalton suits up, I think the Bears will be just fine. So give me them over the Lions. Even if Tim Boyle is the quarterback, you got to start DeAndre Swift. He's a top 10 lock-it-in running back. And TJ Hawkinson is also still viable, definitely getting enough targets even with Tim Boyle. But in the afternoon, we got Las Vegas going on the road at Dallas, taking on the Cowboys. And after last week, I think the Cowboys are going to bounce back. Las Vegas is really in turmoil at the moment, and I think they're going to continue to struggle. The floor is pretty decent for fantasy when it comes to Hunter Renfrow, Derek Carr, and Josh Jacobs, but the only player who's a must-start and an elite player at his position is Darren Waller. The volume keeps his floor very high. However, limited touchdown upside for everyone on this team, and against Dallas, they may have a hard time putting up points. So I definitely think Dallas is going to win. I'm not worried that Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb are likely to not suit up for this game. CeeDee Lamb has a concussion and Amari Cooper has COVID. So that's a big upgrade for Michael Gallup once again. He had 10 targets last week. Didn't come down with as many as I would have liked to see, but he did get the opportunity. It just didn't happen. So I had him as a must start. He was more of a floor play. I think he will have a good game this week because Las Vegas are a lot easier on defense than the Chiefs are at the moment. So I think Michael Gallup will be good, but so will Dalton Schultz. He'll definitely step up a lot with no CeeDee Lamb. And I think so will Zeke and Tony Pollard. I think they're going to lean on the run game a little bit more. And Dak Prescott may be a little bit limited with fewer options. But still, I think the Cowboys will win this game. And then the Saints take on the Bills at home on Thursday night. And I think that the Bills will have a bit of a bounce back. I think their defense was embarrassed against Jonathan Taylor last week, and they're going to try and hold the Saints in check. It looks like Alvin Kamara is still dealing with injury, and I don't think that he will suit up. I don't think he'll be ready in time. So that's more of an upgrade for Mark Ingram. You still trust the floor. He's a top 20 running back. However, I think they will struggle. I don't trust Trevor Siemian too much. Even with a decent fantasy game last week, it did kind of come in garbage time. And also his number one target, Adam Troutman, will miss the next few weeks. He was added to the injury report today. So he's not going to suit up. And I think the Bills will bounce back and get the win, despite losing 3 of their last 5 games. I obviously trust Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, but otherwise it's a little bit dicey. And I think my favorite fantasy option after them is Dawson Knox, who had 10 targets last week, caught 6 of them for 80 yards. And once the touchdowns come, he is definitely a top 10 tight end, and I think he's going to have a lot of upside the rest of the season. I think he could help you win your league. Otherwise, Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley, their upside is kind of capped. They really eat into each other's workload, especially with Dawson Knox back in the mix. And I think the touchdowns will start to go more in favor of Knox, who had 5 touchdowns in his first 5 full healthy games. So those will come sooner or later for Dawson Knox. However, the run game, it doesn't inspire any confidence at all. I don't trust Zach Moss anymore. I don't like Devin Singletary, and Matt Breida is getting involved enough to really limit each of their upside, but not offer any floor of his own. So I'd rather stay away. The Bills cannot run the ball effectively, and it may cost them. They may not win their division. And then on Sunday, Pittsburgh goes against the Bengals in the morning, and they lost this matchup in week 3 to the Bengals. I don't think they're going to get swept by Zach Taylor, and that's why I think Mike Tomlin is going to be ready for this one. I think TJ Watt may suit up, and so will Minkah Fitzpatrick. As long as they do, I think that this will work out for the Steelers, who were very competitive last week but just couldn't stop the Chargers. I think they'll give Joe Mixon a bit of a rough time as long as TJ Watt suits up. Obviously, you trust Jamar Chase. He's a top 10 wide receiver, but T. Higgins really let me down. I had him as a must start, and only 3 targets, 2 receptions, and I think only 13 yards, something like that. Very disappointing from T. Higgins. Did not like to see that. So I'm not going to trust him again. He hasn't scored in a long time, and there's not much of a floor if he sees the workload like he did last week. So not too excited there, but Joe Burrow is still a top 12 option. I don't think he'll struggle too bad. I still think this will be a good game. But give me Pittsburgh. I think that they will win. I definitely trust Najee Harris. Obviously, Deontay Johnson gets a big workload. And same goes for Chase Claypool. I think he really proved himself trustworthy in that game on Sunday night. And then Tampa Bay goes on the road against the Colts after that. And I think that the Colts are just so sharp at the moment. They're really hungry, and they're firing on all cylinders. Every aspect of their team is really performing well. So I think they're going to give the Bucs a rough time. And even though this could enter the shootout potential, I think they have the offensive weaponry to keep up with the Buccaneers, and I think that they will edge out the win at home. And I think this will be a big bounce back for Carson Wentz and Michael Pittman, who weren't really used that much because Jonathan Taylor just, dominated the touches. You can't blame him with 5 touchdowns. But it'll be a big bounce back for them. I think they will be very good for fantasy purposes this week. But other than that, you're obviously going to trust every Buccaneer who you're normally relying on. They're always a very high upside, high floor plays. But give me the Colts to win, and then the Carolina Panthers go on the road against Miami. And I don't trust Miami at all. I think Tua and Myles Gaskin are really going to struggle against a good Carolina defense. But Jalen Waddle and Mike Gesicki, their volume carries them to a decent floor, and I would start them. But I do think Carolina is going to win this game. I think Cam Newton is going to have an easy time, especially running the ball. He is my number 1 pickup on the waiver wire when it comes to quarterbacks. I think he has a great rest of season schedule, and aside from that week 13 bye, he has the potential to be a top 12 quarterback every week because those rushing stats really offer a high floor. So pick up Cam if you need help at the quarterback position. He can definitely help you win the rest of the season. But obviously, Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore are must starts. Lock them into your lineup. Give me the Panthers to beat the Dolphins. And then the Tennessee Titans take on the New England Patriots. And you know that Mike Vrabel knows Bill Belichick's tendencies. This is not going to be an easy game for either team, but I think it's going to be a defensive showcase. I think the Titans may have been looking ahead to this game and slept on the Texans, and that's part of the reason why they lost. But I think A.J. Brown is really going to be contained, definitely going to get double teamed, the typical Bill Belichick treatment. And there aren't any other playmakers that scare you. So I think that the Patriots will roll once again. They're on a very hot win streak. And even though Mac Jones doesn't have to do too much to win, I don't think Tennessee can stop them. The Titans secondary has been very bad this year. I think Kendrick Bourne offers some interesting upside. He's my preferred option of the Patriots wide receivers. But they're a run-first team, and that's why I trust the floor with Damian Harris. He's still the best fantasy play for the Patriots. But Hunter Henry is a pretty safe bet to score a touchdown, so he is a viable top 12 tight end. But give me the Patriots to win this game. The win streak will continue. Keeping it moving, Philadelphia goes on the road against the Giants, and this will be a tough division game. I think the defenses are going to tough it out in this one. We'll see what the Giants can do tonight, but I don't think Sterling Shepard will be available for next week's game either, and that is really going to limit Daniel Jones. I don't really trust Kadarius Toney or Kenny Golladay. I do trust Saquon Barkley, however, I just don't think it's going to be enough. I think Philly is kind of rolling at the moment. They're kind of figuring things out, and they've also been a lot better on the road this year than they have been at home. So I will take Jalen Hurts to edge out the win. He's obviously going to be in your lineup, a very consistent top 10 quarterback this season, and I trust Dallas Goedert and also Devontae Smith in my lineup, but I don't really trust any of the running backs as anything more than low upside flex plays. Very difficult to envision one of them popping off for double-digit fantasy points without a touchdown. So some risk there. But give me the Eagles to win, and then the Falcons go on the road against Jacksonville. I don't want to watch this game at all. It's really going to come down to whether or not Cordarrelle Patterson suits up for the Falcons. I think Kyle Pitts will bounce back, but last week was just so bad. You know, you have to be better than that. And I think he'll get the ball. I think the Falcons will score a little bit more than last week, but this is going to be a low-scoring game. Don't want to watch it. James Robinson will lead the way for the Jaguars, but with that heel injury, the upside is kind of not really there. You're kind of banking on a touchdown, but I think he's going to be a safe play because the Falcons are bad against the run. Otherwise, I don't really want to count on anyone for the Jaguars. They also lost Jamal Agnew for the rest of the season, so limited upside for Trevor Lawrence. Not many deep threats and explosive players in Jacksonville. This is going to be a low score. Like I said, I don't want to watch it, but I'll take the Falcons even if Cordarrelle Patterson doesn't play. And then the Jets against Houston. I don't want to watch this one either, but it actually has some shootout potential. Neither defense really scares you. I think Houston may have a bit of hubris after beating the Titans last week. The Jets will be ready as they can be. But I don't really trust either team. Neither run game is very efficient. Michael Carter's going to miss this game as well, so not excited there. But in the passing game, Brandin Cooks, who had a bad game last week, I also had him as a must start, very disappointing. I think will bounce back. It was very odd that his workload was so low, and I think that will come back to normal, and he'll see a big target volume in this one. So I'll trust Brandin Cooks again, but other than that, I don't trust any Texan other than Tyrod Taylor. He will have some upside. And in New York, there is a new must-start wide receiver. It's definitely Elijah Moore, who's had a great last 5 games. I wasn't ready to buy in, but after last week, you can't ignore him any longer. Ideally, you picked him up like I recommended last week as a bench stash because he really paid off. In his last 5 games, here is average. 8 targets per game, 6 receptions for a total of 76.6 all-purpose yards per game on average. He's also put up 5 touchdowns in the last 5 games, all for an average of 16.6 half PPR points per game. And on a per-game basis this season, that ranks as wide receiver 4. So Elijah Moore is elite recently, and you know that there's going to be some garbage time, and he is the go-to option in the red zone. The only thing that can slow him down as we close out the season is when Zach Wilson comes back. Will he feed the ball to Elijah Moore as much? I still think that will be the case, but he may favor Corey Davis a little bit more. But I've been trusting Corey Davis as a top 30 wide receiver, and that is no longer the case. I think Elijah Moore is the jet that you want, and really the only one that I trust. But Mike White does have some 2 quarterback streaming potential this week. I don't think it's going to be enough, though. Give me the Houston Texans over the Jets. And then in the afternoon, my Chargers go on the road against Denver, who are coming off a bye, and they are going to lean on the run game. They had a couple wins this season with more than 40 rush attempts, and that is the recipe for success for them. So that's what they want to do. The Chargers are bad against the run. They're going to try and lean on Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams to get the win. I don't think it's going to be enough. I think they're going to need to throw the ball to keep up, and I am a little bit worried about Jerry Jeudy. I don't think the upside is there. I think that high ankle sprain is definitely a factor, and it's just keeping him as more of a floor play, and the touchdown upside is very limited in Denver. So I'm not too excited about starting Teddy in a bad matchup against this Chargers secondary, but I obviously trust Justin Herbert. He's a top 6 quarterback. I trust Austin Eckler. He's a top 5 running back. And Keenan Allen is a top 10 wide receiver. Mike Williams is a bit more volatile, but I trust the upside. Don't think I can bench him personally. Just too much touchdown potential. A top 20 wide receiver week in, week out for me. And all of this is just too much to overcome for the Broncos, in my opinion. I will take the Chargers to win. And then the Rams go on the road against Green Bay, a possible NFC Championship preview. And I think coming off a loss and a bye week, the Rams are going to be ready. The Packers are banged up. Aaron Rodgers dealing with a toe injury. We know Aaron Jones is probably not going to suit up, and Alan Lazard missed last week. So if he doesn't suit up, and given the Jalen Ramsey coverage for Devontae Adams, Marquez Valdes-Scantling may be asked to step up once again. He saw 10 targets last week, so very high yards per catch average, so a lot of upside with MVS. But I think A.J. Dillon is going to be relied on once again, and he is obviously a top 10 running back. So trust all of the Green Bay options you're counting on. But then for the Rams, I think they will have a big bounce back game after that loss. Matthew Stafford should be okay. He always plays the Packers very tough, so not really worried there. It's really just the wide receiver situation. After Woods went down, you obviously trust Cooper Kupp, no question about it. But OBJ should be a little bit better. There's going to be more design plays for him, given more practice time during the bye week. But I still think the wide receiver 2 that you want is Van Jefferson. However, he's still just a flex play with upside for me, not the most reliable player. But in the run game, as long as Darrell Henderson is healthy, he is a top 12 running back, and I think you can lock him into your lineup this week. He is a safe play. And I'm going to take the Rams to win. I think they will get it done. I trust Sean McVay a little bit more than Matt LaFleur. And then the Minnesota Vikings go on the road against the 49ers, and this is going to be an interesting game. The Vikings didn't give away the lead last week once again, and they're on a bit of a trustworthy streak here. I think there's enough motivation for the Vikings to continue to perform at a high level, and I don't really trust this 49ers run game at the moment without Elijah Mitchell. So that's really the factor here that moves the needle for me, even though it's in San Francisco. I think that Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, and Adam Thielen will be just a little bit too much to overcome, and I think they'll put enough points on the board to beat the 49ers. But you're obviously starting Deebo Samuel, you're obviously starting George Kittle. I think Brandon Aiyuk is definitely interesting. I'm going to start to rank him in that 30 to 40 range, low-end flex appeal, but I wouldn't look at you weird at all if you wanted to put him in your lineup. He has a lot of potential, but he does still come with a bit of risk. I can't sign off on him as a top 30 wide receiver just yet. But give me the Vikings, like I said. And then the last game on Sunday, Cleveland Browns versus the Baltimore Ravens. I think that Lamar Jackson will be back for this game, but I'm a little worried about Marquise Brown. I still think Mark Andrews and Rashad Bateman and Devontae Freeman will play very well. Devontae Freeman played alongside Latavius Murray and got more rush attempts, more touches last week. And he is still under the 50% threshold on ESPN. So if you need running back help, he is a good flex option with upside. He's a bit touchdown dependent, but definitely the running back in Baltimore that you want. So pick him up if you need him. And I think that they will get the job done against Cleveland because they have a great run defense, number 2 in the NFL. And as long as they can hold Nick Chubb in check, then Cleveland will struggle. Their wide receiver depth is pretty dicey at the moment, and I don't really trust Baker Mayfield to get it done. So I'm gonna lean on the Baltimore run defense when it comes to making this pick. Even if Kareem Hunt is available to come back, I still think that the Browns will struggle. It'll be a low-scoring game. Defenses will be leaned on both sides, but I trust Lamar Jackson a little bit more, and that's why I am taking the Baltimore Ravens. And then the last game of the night, Seattle against Washington. I think this is going to be a very close, very contentious matchup. Seattle's season is on the line. Like, if they don't win this game, they're pretty much out of the playoffs, in my opinion. I think it's going to be almost impossible for them to climb their way back in. So Russell Wilson is going to be hungry. He's going to connect with DK Metcalf early and often. And I expect a big bounce-back game for DK Metcalf. Tyler Lockett feels pretty safe as long as Wilson is the quarterback. Pretty consistent target volume and always some potential to score on a deep touchdown. So still trust him inside that wide receiver 20 to 25 range. Hard to bench with all the upside, but in Washington, though, Terry McLaurin is obviously a must start. Logan Thomas is also interesting, expected to come back from IR, a top 12 tight end in my opinion. And Taylor Heineke offers a lot of streaming upside and is going to consistently be in that quarterback 12 to 16 range for me. Prefer him in a 2-quarterback format, but you could do a lot worse than Taylor Heineke. The player that I'm watching the most here, though, is Antonio Gibson. I think he's a very interesting trade target with a lot of touchdown upside. He looks to be healthy ever since the bye, and even though he fumbled last week, I want to buy low on Antonio Gibson. He had 5 yards per carry in that game against Carolina, and they have a great run defense. So I think that's a reason to be excited about Antonio Gibson. And I think the matchup going forward the rest of the season doesn't scare you at all. There's only a couple games against Dallas, against above average run defenses. So I like Antonio Gibson a lot, and odds are the owner of Gibson is quite frustrated with him, so you may be able to get him. But the trade deadline is approaching, so good luck with that. But for this game, I will take the Seattle Seahawks because I think Russell Wilson will get it done. And they're really desperate for a win at the moment. Pete Carroll's job may be on the line. So that's how I see it there. There's 2 teams on bye, Kansas City and Arizona. I don't really buy into Rondale Moore's 11 receptions on 11 targets, only 51 yards. And we know there's a lot of mouths to feed, and it wasn't Kyler Murray at quarterback. So a little bit fluky, not sure I trust him. We'll see what this team looks like after the bye when everyone comes back healthy. In Kansas City, though, obviously we know what to expect from Mahomes, Hill, and Kelsey, although Mahomes has been a little bit risky lately, not always scoring a touchdown, but CEH is the player who definitely made a splash last week, and obviously he's more trustworthy than Darrell Williams. He reclaimed the clear number 1 running back spot, and I think you can trust him as a top 20 running back the rest of the season, but he is a bit touchdown dependent, and sometimes he disappears. So there's a bit of risk there. Not sure he's a top 15 running back, but definitely a top 20 running back. So that's how I see it for Week 12. I'll go back through the list, give you my win-loss predictions here. I got the Bears over the Lions, the Cowboys over the Raiders, the Bills over the Saints, the Steelers over the Bengals, the Colts over the Buccaneers, the Panthers over the Dolphins, the Patriots over the Titans, the Eagles over the Giants, the Falcons over the Jaguars, the Texans over the Jets, the Chargers over the Broncos, the Rams over the Packers, the Vikings over the 49ers, the Ravens over the Browns, and the Seahawks over the Washington football team. So that's it for me. That's going to wrap up this video. If you enjoyed, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more content. There'll be more videos out on a daily basis. My name is Adam Riancho, and thank you for watching Nice and Blunt.